Welcome to all in online classes organized by MP Higher Education Department. Myself, Dr. Sushma Durafe, Associate Professor of Mathematics, Government Motilal Vigyan Mahavidyalaya, Bhopal, MP. Today, we are going to study about cardinal number, partially ordered set, John's lemma, Schroeder-Bernstein theorem, etc., which are in the syllabus of MSc Semester 1 Mathematics, third paper Topology. Let us start our topic. Firstly, we see what is cardinal number. The cardinal number will be, in some sense, a measure of the number of points in set. We shall say that all equipotent sets have the same cardinal number. After that, we are coming on cardinality for finite sets. Any set which is equipotent to the set 1, 2, 3 and so on n has the cardinal number n. We know that the cardinality of empty set is 0. Now, cardinality for infinite sets. We denote cardinality of denumerable sets by aleph naught. We know that the set R of all real numbers is uncountably infinite. We now introduce the symbol C, called the cardinal number of the continuum, for the number of elements in R. C is the cardinal number of R and of any set which is numerically equivalent to R. 1 is less than 2, is less than 3 and so on, is less than aleph naught, is less than C. Now, concept of cardinality. If A is equivalent to B, that is A is equal to B, then we say that A and B have the same cardinal number or cardinality. We write hash A is equal to hash B, that is cardinality of A is equal to cardinality of B, then A is equivalent to B. And if A is equivalent to B, then cardinality of A is equal to cardinality of B. On the other hand, if A precedes to B, then we say that A has cardinality less than B. That is, cardinality of A is less than cardinality of B if and only if A precedes B. So, cardinality A is less than or equal to cardinality B if and only if A precedes to or equal to B. Now we are coming on addition of cardinal numbers. Let lambda and mu be cardinal numbers and let A and B be disjoint sets with cardinality of A is equal to lambda and cardinality of B is equal to mu. Then we define addition of lambda and mu written as lambda plus mu by lambda plus mu is equal to hash A union B. That is hash A plus hash B is equal to hash A union B, or we say cardinality of A plus cardinality of B is equal to cardinality of A union B. There are some properties of addition of cardinal numbers. First is commutative. Cardinality of A plus cardinality of B is equal to cardinality of A union B. We know that operation of union follows commutative law. That is A union B is equal to B union A. So hash A plus hash B, that is cardinality A plus cardinality B, is equal to cardinality of A union B is equal to cardinality of B union A, because A union B is equal to B union A. So hash B union A is equal to hash B plus hash A. So we get hash A plus hash B is equal to hash B plus hash A. That is the cardinality of A plus cardinality of B is equal to cardinality of B plus cardinality of A. Second, associativity. Hash A plus hash B plus hash C is equal to hash A union B plus hash C. Hash A union B union C, we know that operation of union follows associative law. That is A union B union C is equal to A union B union C. So hash A plus hash B plus hash C is equal to hash A union B union C is equal to hash A union B union C is equal to hash A plus hash B plus hash C. Now we are going on multiplication of cardinal numbers. Let lambda mu be two cardinal numbers and let A B be such that hash A is equal to lambda, hash B is equal to mu. Then the product of lambda and mu written as lambda suffix mu is defined by hash A cross B, that is hash A hash B is equal to hash A cross B. There are some properties of multiplication of cardinal numbers. First is commutative. Let A, B be any two sets, then the mapping F A cross B to B cross A such that F of AB is equal to BA for every A belongs to A, set A, and B belongs to set B is 1, 1 and on 2. So that A cross B is equivalent to B cross A. Therefore, hash A cross B is equal to hash B cross A. Then by definition of multiplication, we have hash A, hash B is equal to hash B, hash A. That is, multiplication is commutative. Then second property is associative. Let A, B, C be any three sets. then the mapping G A cross B cross C to A cross B cross C defined by G A B C is equal to A B C is evidently 1 1 and onto, so that A cross B cross C is equivalent to A cross B cross C. Hence, A cross B cross C is equal to hash A cross B cross C. The definition of multiplication gives hash A cross B hash C is equal to hash A hash B cross C. So we get multiplication is associative. Now third property is distributive. Let B, C be disjoint sets and A any set. Then hash A hash B plus hash C is equal to hash A hash B union C is equal to hash A cross B union C. So that hash A hash B plus hash C is the cardinal number of the set of all ordered pairs AW such that A belongs to set A and W belongs to B or set C. Again, we have hash A hash B plus hash A hash C is equal to hash A cross B plus hash A cross C. Hash A cross B union A cross C. Thus, hash A hash B plus hash A hash C is the cardinal number of set of ordered pairs AB where A belongs to set A, B belongs to set B together with the set of all ordered pairs AC, A belongs to set A and C belongs to set C. There is obvious 1-1 correspondence between the set of ordered pairs AW and the set of ordered pairs AB and AC. It follows that hash A hash B plus hash C is equal to hash A hash B plus hash A hash C. Now we are coming on partially ordered sets. Let P be a non-empty set. A partial order relation in P is a relation which is symbolized by and assumed to have the following properties. X is partially ordered relation to X for every X, that is, it is reflexivity. Second, X is less than equal to Y and Y is less than equal to X implies that X is equal to Y, anti-symmetry. X is partially ordered to Y and Y is partially ordered to Z implies that X is partially ordered to Z. This is transitivity. Some examples of partially ordered sets. Let P be the set of all positive integers and let M divides N. Second example, let P be the class of all subsets of some universal set U and A is a subset of B. Another example is, let P be the set of all real functions defined on a non-empty set X, and let F is partially ordered to G, mean that f of x is partially ordered to Gx for every x. Comparable. Two elements x and y in a partially ordered set are called comparable if one of them is less than or equal to the other. That is, if either x is less than equal to y or y is less than equal to x. X is partially ordered to y or y is partially ordered to x. In previous example 1, for instance, the integers 4 and 6 are not comparable because neither divides the other. Now maximal element. Let P be a partially ordered set. An element x in P is said to be maximal if y is greater than equal to x, implies that y is equal to x, that is, if no element other than x itself is greater than or equal to x. A maximal element in P is thus an element of P which is not less than or equal to any other element of P. For example, let x is equal to A, B, C, D, E be ordered by the diagram. Both D and E are minimal elements. The element A is maximal. Another example is that A is equal to 2, 3, 4 and so on. That is the set of natural numbers without element 1, and let A be ordered by x divides y. Determine the minimal and maximal element of set A. If P belongs to set A is a prime number, then only P divides P, since 1 does not belong to set A. Hence, all prime numbers are minimal elements. Furthermore, if A belongs to set A is not prime, then there is a number B belongs to set A such that B divides A. Hence, A is not minimal. There are no maximal elements since for every A belongs to set A divides 2A. Upper and lower bound. Let A be a subset of a partially ordered set X. An element small m belongs to X is a lower bound of A if and only if m precedes every element in A. If some lower bound of A follows every other lower bound of A, then it is called the greatest lower bound or infimum of A. An element capital M belongs to X is an upper bound of A if and only if M follows every element in A. If some upper bound of A precedes every other upper bound of A, then it is called the least upper bound or supremum of A. A is said to be bounded above if it has an upper bound and bounded below if it has a lower bound. If A has both an upper and lower bound, then it is said to be bounded. For example, let X is equal to A, B, C, D, E, F, G be ordered by the above diagram. Let B is equal to C, D, E, then A, B and C are upper bounds of set B and F is the only lower bound of set B. Note that G is not a lower bound of set B since G does not precede D. Furthermore, C is equal to supremum B belongs to B while F is equal to infimum B does not belong to set B. Let X be a non-empty partially ordered set in which every totally ordered subset has an upper bound, then X contains at least one maximal element. This is called Jones lemma. Now we are coming on famous theorem, Schroeder-Bernstein theorem. The statement is, if X is equivalent to a subset of Y and Y is equivalent to a subset of X, then X and Y are equivalent. Without loss of generality, may assume that A and B are disjoint. Since A is equipotent to a subset of B, there exists a 1-1 mapping F of A into B. Similarly, there exists a 1-1 mapping of B into A. Our task is to produce a mapping capital F A to B which is 1-1 onto. In the previous lecture, we have learned 1-1 onto, that is, if range, that is image of elements of domain is equal to codomain, then mapping is onto. And the image of different elements of domain are different, then it is 1-1. We may assume that neither F nor G is onto. For if F is onto, we may define capital F to be small f, and if G is onto, we may take capital F to be G inverse. Since both F and G are 1-1, we may use the mapping F inverse and G inverse provided we consider F inverse to be defined only on F of A and G inverse only on G of B. We shall obtain the desired mapping capital F by partitioning the set A and set B into subsets which we characterize in terms of the ancestry of their elements. Let A be an arbitrary element of set A. We find G inverse A in set B. If G inverse A exists, we call the first ancestor of A. The element A itself is called the 0th ancestor of A. We now apply F inverse to G inverse A to get the element F inverse G inverse A in set A. If F inverse G inverse A exists, we call it the second ancestor of A. Again, we apply G inverse to F inverse G inverse A, and if G inverse F inverse G inverse A exists, we call it the third ancestor of A. We continue this process of tracing back the ancestry of A. It is evident that there are three possibilities. First possibility is A has a last ancestor, that is, one which itself has no first ancestor in set A. In this case, we also say that A has an even number of ancestors. We shall denote by A suffix E, the subset of set A, consisting of all elements with an even number of ancestors. Second possibility is A has an odd number of ancestors, which means that A has a last ancestor in set B. We denote by A suffix O, the subset of set A, which consists of all elements with an odd number of ancestors. The third possibility is A has infinitely many ancestors. The subset of A consisting of all elements with infinitely many ancestors will be denoted by A suffix I. Since the mapping F inverse, G inverse, F inverse, G inverse, G inverse, F inverse, G inverse, etc. are 1-1, it is easy to see that the three sets AE, AO and AI are disjoint whose union is A. Similarly, we can obtain a partition of set B into three subsets BE, BO and BI. It is evident that F maps AI onto BI and AE onto BO, and that G inverse maps AO onto BE. We now define the mapping capital F A to B as follows. Capital F of x is equal to small f of x when x belongs to AI, AI is subset of AE. And capital F of x is equal to G inverse x when x belongs to AO. Thus, we have obtained a 1-1 mapping capital F of A onto B, and consequently A is equivalent to B. This is Schroeder-Bernstein theorem. For further reading, please refer Introduction to Topology and Modern Analysis by G.F. Simmons, Introduction to General Topology by K.D. Joshi, and Topology by J.N. Sharma and J.P. Chauhan. Assess yourself. First question is, let B is equal to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 be ordered by x is a multiple of y. Find all maximal and minimal elements of B. Second question, an operation of addition is defined for cardinal numbers as follows. Hash A plus hash B is equal to hash A cross singleton set 1 union B cross singleton set 2. Show that if A intersection B is equal to 5, then hash A plus hash B is equal to hash A union B. Second, show that the operation is well defined. That is, hash A is equal to hash A dash and hash B is equal to hash B dash implies hash A plus hash B is equal to hash A dash plus hash B dash. Answer of question 1. The maximal elements are 2, 3 and 5 and the minimal elements are 6, 8, 9 and 10. Definitely, this lecture will be beneficial for MSc Sem 1 Mathematics students. Thank you.